Welcome, welcome, welcome everybody to the Two Feathers new teaching show with Andrew Bartzis. How are we all doing, guys?
Wonderful, Laura. What's going on in the world?
What is going on? We have had a week of major solar storms, big sunspots, and solar flares. So what we'd like to know, Andrew, from you is how is that going to affect the Schumann resonance, and how is that going to affect us?
Well, a big spike is coming. For lack of better words, the 4 monitors that monitor the Schumann resonance spike, that's right, there are only 4 monitors that measure the Schumann resonance, are going to show something, a spike. Does that mean ascension sickness? Does that mean spiritual periods will be happening? Stay tuned to find out. Cricket.
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 So what is going to happen, Andrew?
Everyone is waiting on bated breath out there. What is going to happen?
Yeah.
Same thing that happens every solar flare. You won't sleep, and the conspiracy world will go crazy. All the while, you'll be wondering, am I awakening or am I going to sleep?
But some
am
people...
I being facetious? Yes, I am. These are the moments as the history of time turns, and the sands in the hourglass of time remind us that drama will be drama, and that we must not pay attention to the drama, but know our internal selves versus the external world. The solar flares that are coming are here to add to the great story of the awakening. Unless you are one of those light workers who has forever ascension sickness and never actually ascends or never actually does any work. Therefore, these storms are going to beat your ass up hard. Cricket. And people are running, what is this cricket stuff? It's my ongoing joke with everyone around here. They have lack of quick wit because the solar storms and the Schumann resonant frequency has slowed their brains down. Dumbed them down.
So does it mean that the solar maximum that was due in 2025 is going to arrive a little bit earlier?
2 years early, yes.
2 years early. So at the end of this year is something that's been said.
Starting right now.
Okay. And
actually started 2 months ago, but
okay, what will that mean for us? How does that affect us? Do the symptoms, do the things that affect us just become more often, more solar flares and so on? And that
if your body is used to an 11-year cycle instead of a 7-year cycle, or a 7-year cycle instead of a 5-year cycle, you can postulate what's going to happen, right? Mm-hmm. There's going to be more solar flares in a more compressed amount of time that creates electromagnetic disharmonies. That's ultimately what the solar flares are creating, as well as activating the different surface nodules of the world that are highly affected by electromagnetic frequencies, erasing in earthquakes, erasing in volcanoes. Whenever you see high amounts of solar flares, earthquakes and volcanoes become more prevalent. We have a massive volcano going off in Russia right now, in Kamchatka, Russia, putting ash 60 miles into the air. Okay, we're going to see the ash here, and you'll see it in England in the next 10 days.
Wow, I didn't know anything about that.
Yeah.
So out of touch.
Massive volcano going off, and it didn't go off one time too. It went off like 15 times.
Wow.
Okay. And there's a huge amount of UFOs that are spotted around this volcano as going off. And whenever there's a Schumann resonance spike, yes, there's a mass amounts of increases of UFOs being sighted too.
So are they charging up? Or are they just trying to do other work?
Charging up is not normally they charge up around high energy spots. This is more of doing refined celestial surgery work on various energy points of the planet.
Ooh. Celestial psychic surgery.
Yes.
So they're using the rays or the spike in the Schumann resonance and using that actual electromagnetic energy.
Yes, to create changes on surface areas, subsurface areas, so that a different form of energy comes out there, repairing the breakage and the faults, whatever it is.
What do they do? Do they sort of reflect the Schumann resonance back towards Earth, or do
No,
they?
it's more like a celestial proctology exam. They put a cold finger in there and see there's polyps in there. What's blocking?
So do they use specialized ships for this, Andrew, or is it something that they do?
They use specialized?
independent?
It's more specialized personalities than ships. They just put like an energy condom around the ship, and then they're able to go into the frequency and not alter the ship's frequency, while they're able to emit an energy that begins to repair the tear in the fabric of reality there.
Wow.
And can they also come in earthquake areas, or is it really just
They
volcanoes?
oftentimes come in Earth. They come ahead of the earthquakes, during the earthquakes, and after the earthquakes. Yes.
And on the womb chakras too?
Yes, the womb chakras too.
Because that's all interrelated. So in fact, any point where there's a very high resonance.
Well, actually, where
high
the Kamchatka earthquake is, there's actually a womb chakra right there within 15 miles of the volcano.
Wow.
So how's that going to affect the people round there?
Well,
Just accentuated as womb chakras do?
it'll
It'll be a
affect
fear.
it'll affect the whole world's unseen world.
Ah, okay, so what can we expect to see there? In
Ripples
the unseen?
and waves through the unseen world. Chills up the unseen world's spines.
Well, let's
Doubt, hesitation, confusion, ascension symptoms and sicknesses for the unseen world.
Okay, well, let's start with the astral. What's it doing? What are the distortions? It creates distortions. The electromagnetic frequencies with the Schumann resonance creates the distortions in the astral, yes?
It actually disconnects astral worlds. It makes us a less of a connection instead of a stronger connection to the specific astral worlds.
So could that work in our favor?
A volcano that's activated by the solar flares. But you have increased Schumann resonance, which gives increased capacity to get access to the unseen worlds, not the layer known as astral.
Gosh, so that's compounding.
Yeah, it's compounding. Remember, the Schumann frequency is not about multidimensional travel. It's about the ability to multidimensional communicate. It's the interface energy in which you can commune with the celestial and elemental sources.
Yes, and how we can ground it through our vagus nerve as well, isn't it? It's about grounding.
Yes.
Grounding that energies into the earth. So how will the astrals shift like this? Will it have any effect on us? And if
Sure.
so,
all those people who do regular astral travel will be diverted to other realms, like big traffic detour signs.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And so will it affect the incoming souls coming into the planet?
Many situations of hijacking.
Yeah. Yeah, it sounds slightly risky.
Yeah, very risque.
Yeah.
So does that set up the potential for more hauntings and stuff like that?
Yes, but not necessarily that the person has to have that in them already.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Like in one of the other shows, whenever there's a solar flare, it's an increased opportunity to do ceremony, prayer, ritual, etc., because you'll have a higher chance of connecting through the medium of elements in the celestial mind, etc., etc. If you don't have that spiritual hygiene and that practice, your chance of being hijacked are higher, but doesn't mean you will. It could be random, spontaneous openings to weird dreams, unique frequencies that help open you up and keep you awake, and scary stuffs too that your mind just can't understand.
And if you couple that along with the fear that comes with a volcano, that's going to be, obviously it's a global event, a volcano. It's not something that just affects one part of the world because of the information that we can share in this reality. That must add a whole other element to this.
Go
Go on,
ahead,
Dale. For the purpose of the people at home, Dale doesn't have internet, so he's coming in on his phone and
a
his.
lot of us don't
There we
sleep,
go.
Andrew. Is it because of the like high energy sunspots? And
The reason we don't sleep is the energy coming in is activating our physical
sorry, I'm
bodies
literally
to
like
have more
240s.
awareness.
But I'd say the question was, Andrew. So for people, yeah.
He's on a delay.
Go ahead, Dale.
So that affects us obviously not being able to sleep. What can we do if we can't sleep? Is it just kind of waiting it out, riding it out, if you get what I mean? Riding it out until the solar activity kind of slows down?
Well, the real answer is do spiritual work if you can't sleep. And if you end up doing spiritual work and you still can't sleep, you wait it out.
Okay.
It is a wait it out. Like I've been having on and off issues with the solar flares for months now. I have not had good sleep the last 2 weeks in a row. And the previous 2 weeks before that, I had some okay sleep. And it doesn't, again, for me at this point, it doesn't matter the level of spiritual work I did. It's the activation that the physical body and the spiritual body has from these high frequency particles saturating our environment.
Yeah. Yeah.
So how would you
go ahead? No,
I
go
was
ahead.
just going to ask about
So what can
riding
one
it
do?
as a
So
wave
say
is
when
really...
they're working with the
He's on a delay.
That's okay. Go on,
Yeah.
Dale.
He probably has to disconnect and reconnect to end that delay. Dale, if you can hear me, you're gonna have to disconnect from the back room and then
it's
reconnect.
really delaying when
Yeah, you're gonna have to disconnect and reconnect to see if that delay will go away. All right, so when it comes to the energies being around you, you still have to do something with them.
Yeah.
If you end up doing nothing with them, sure, it's going to keep you awake. It is going to create an insomnia-based process. In my situation, I'm doing my spiritual work. I'm doing that, but I'm still having the staying awake process. I'll sleep for like an hour and a half, 2 hours, and then bing, wide awake. And I just have to accept being awake. Or I stay in that in-between delta state, and it's not about traveling anywhere. It's just about creating peace, where I'm in a delta sleep state, but I'm not in a deep sleep. Because again, those particles are activating awareness.
Yeah. And I'm actually having a fairly easy time, touch wood, with these ones. Usually I can stay awake for 3 days solid, even though I'm lying in bed and I'm absolutely shattered, I still remain awake. But this time around, I think because I've got a lot more creation going on, I'm in a real creative phase at the moment, and it seems to be that as soon as my head touches the pillow, I'm out, which is really rare for me.
Yep. But you've also gone through a big letdown phase of the pressure you put on yourself.
Yes.
And you said before, Andrew, I think that it does affect people in different ways. There's not really a cookie cutter answer, is there, to it? Because we've all got our own individual contracts with the earth, if you like, with the celestial mind, haven't we?
That's right.
So I think you said before, some people will sleep really well, some won't.
Some people have amazing dreams. Okay? Back in the 2014, 2015, 2016 solar maximum minimum transition, for me, it was the dreams were talk.
Yes.
All night long. I slept a full 8 hours, days in a row, but I would wake up tired because so much was going on in the dream.
Yes.
Okay?
That period, still to this day, I hold that as some of my greatest dreaming I've done, some of the best dreams and some of the most expansive dreams.
Sure. And in theory, that's about to return as we go to the next form of solar maximum.
Oh, wonderful.
So what about the astral traveling as we carry on now? Is it something we shouldn't try doing at the moment?
Well, in general, nobody should be astral traveling unless you actually know what you're doing.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of light workers are being pissed off right now. Astral travel is for the experienced people.
Yeah.
And if you think you could pick up a book and do astral traveling, you're in for a set of really tough life lessons. Deal with lucid dream traveling first. Okay?
Yeah. So it's really for advanced practitioners.
No, dedicated people who understand that the advancing their practice at astral travel requires daily physical practice and work to maintain the amount of energy it requires to be in an astral travel. Oftentimes, astral travels aren't hijacked from the state of vision. They're hijacked from you don't have the energy to support it, and something comes in and gives the energy of support, and you never know it.
Mm.
That's how they hijack it. You don't have the energy to maintain it, and something comes in and has the energy to maintain it, and then it slowly takes over the vision because it's energy, not yours.
Yeah.
Like a worm on a hook.
Right.
Yeah.
Little worm on a big fucking hook.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and all the people out there. But none
So
of
for
the
astral traveling,
books
do you
tell you that.
recommend before?
Go ahead, yeah.
You've recommended before, Andrew, like before a full moon and after it, haven't you? You know, like the first few days before it and 2 days after the full moon. Is that what you've recommended before?
Once
if anybody
you're
wants to
going
do it
to
and
be
maintain the energy,
if you're on the
so
determined,
they're not drained.
if you're on the determinant side, yes, once a month try. But you have to make it more guided meditation than astral travel. Until such a time astral travel becomes far more natural for you. You know, and I'm saying, you know, there's people in the chat room or the box going right now, well, none of the astral travel books tell you that. Yeah, because they're fucking morons who write those books. They have no real practice, no real understanding of how the cosmological astral worlds actually function, and they write books that are coming from a freaking light worker's marketer perspective.
Yeah.
Okay? They're giving you just enough information to make life dangerous for you.
Yeah. And when you do get out there and begin to astral travel, even when you have the ability to do it, you can still get in big trouble.
Yes.
That's personal experience talking.
That's right. And then the next thing is most people have no clue how much energy it costs to astral travel, even for a microsecond. It could be months of your energy. Months. Thus, why you got to practice and learn how much energy it takes, where to go, what to do, and how to pull out. And then the other thing is, none of these astral travel books tell you how to get back in your fucking body.
Mm.
Mm. Yeah.
So what happens there, Andrew, then? People leave pieces and parts of themselves all over the place?
Yep, the litter, like pollution litter bugs.
Yep.
And then I guess their own DNA skin suit in that they're going to have a more sort of advanced form of anxiety.
Or psychosomatic issues, yes.
Yeah, yeah.
So with the astral realms being affected by this current state, does that affect the incoming and outgoing souls?
Yes.
In what way?
So whenever there's high solar flare, earthquake activity, there is a faster death rate in the world and a higher birth rate. So the more deaths you have, the more souls you coming in. The more births you have, the bigger change in the soul family population on the surface world.
So this is going to put pressure on the system.
Yeah, well, that's the nature of why the solar flares are coming like this. It's increasing the volume of people migrating from solar worlds to astral worlds to surface worlds and to subsurface worlds.
Yeah.
Remember, there's also a subsurface death rate, too. They're not all completely immortal down there. Things do die down there. There is a death cycle down there. And whenever there's a death down there, there's something that replaces it, too.
So what about those that are living in the spaces between spaces?
They have a life cycle also.
And they're affected by this?
Oh, absolutely. Many of them have to take physical form during high-frequency solar flare times. They can't stay non-physical.
Interesting. What's the reason for that?
The amount of particles that are moving, and if they stay energy, those particles will begin to affect their energy bodies a lot more. And by taking physical bodies, it changes the harm that the high stream particles are doing to them.
And so do they become more vulnerable?
Yeah, absolutely. Then creates a high level of vulnerability to these beings who are impenetrable because of the high energy state that they're in.
And it must make them more observant, not observant, but to be observed better.
Paranoid as fuck too.
Yeah, I bet. Like they've got a police car behind them, and they've got a trunk full of something they shouldn't.
More like the FBI on their tail with a trunk of shit that they shouldn't.
Squeaky bum time.
Mm-hmm.
You've also spoken about the Schumann resonance increasing the sexual energy.
Oh yeah.
But if it's not used for copulation and so on, you can still use it as a micro energy for macro energy for micro tasks, can't you? You can still utilize that sexual energy.
Right, like you're normally, a lot of people in standard jobs use their sexual energy to complete their 40-hour work week.
Right.
And it's
okay.
normal to do that. During high frequency storms like this, with all these extra particles, when you enter that high creative state, you have access to more high creative energy state particles to use for your creative endeavors. Music, dance, writing, whatever it's going to be. Whatever.
So a really good time to start a new project then.
Or to find a way to reinvest into an old project that you lost the oomph to work with.
Yeah. So anything really that you require more, as you say, oomph to put into.
Yes.
More energy.
So would this manifest itself amongst... Sorry, go ahead, Laura.
No, go ahead, Matty.
So would this manifest itself amongst the Muggle community as frustration or possibly even destructive tendencies?
So in the Muggle people of the surface world, we'll say a good portion of them, well around 30 to 40%, will be far more lash out aggressive.
Yeah.
And they won't know why. Again, it's because high energy particles are forcing them into quick actions. And then let's say if that's 30 to 40, the next 20 to 30% is going to be people who go into extreme laziness, depression, regression, obsession, whatever their character flaws that they don't work, those will be amplified. At the same time, an inner voice will be trying to emerge to get them to do something about it. Mm. Many of them end up in confusion, doubt, and hesitation, or shame, blame, and guilt. And then the remaining percentages are people who are Muggles, but on the journey to be an awakened Muggle, okay? With whatever it is that they're researching, doing, practicing for them. But there's going to come a point where you have to let go of the Muggle term and realize that you're an infinite being and an infinite source with infinite connection, which creates the challenge of the Muggle to not be a Muggle anymore. Yes.
And so this would have an effect on karma as well, I would imagine.
Sure. Karma will be resolved faster, or new karmas will be created.
Yes.
Without the direct intention. And just things happen because life is moving so fast, and a line of quick, witty words to one person is an attack to them during that high frequency time.
Yes.
And sort of taken as a joke between two friends.
Yes.
But even as a Muggle, your connectivity to the earth should be something that would help you through this. Keeping yourself grounded and getting in nature and getting that full earth connection. And I don't just mean grounding, but
there are certain Muggles who are connected to Muggleville so much that they source energy from Muggleville.
Yeah.
And then there are ones that have two Wi-Fis, Muggleville and Spirit Wi-Fi. And then they struggle which one to connect to.
Tug of war.
Yeah. Or Muggleville will have Wi-Fi connection but no internet behind it. And Spirit connection will have Wi-Fi and connection behind it.
And sometimes it takes a long time to actually discover which is the true source and which is the one that's supporting you, your authentic self, and which one is just a facade.
Exactly. Which then creates the doubt, hesitation, which one's real, stuck in what is real. 2 nights go by and you don't know what is real. You get pissed off. You get frustrated. 3 nights go by. And finally you fall asleep because there's a break in the solar flares. you get yourself back to work, you reinvest yourself into Muggleville, and then the next solar flare hits and amplifies what you just went through.
Should we pause for Dale to make a question? I think he wants to ask a question.
Does the system do anything, Andrew? You know, can you hear me, guys?
Yes. Yeah. The system is affected by the solar flares just as much as we are. And believe it or not, artificial intelligences are highly affected by the solar flares. They're just not affected the same way we are.
Can you hear me, guys?
Yes.
Yes. It's pretty. So yeah, that's it. That was it.
Okay. So yes, the system is absolutely affected by the solar flares. Now let's talk about the oligarchs of this world. What are solar flares doing to them? Not very much. But their underlings are very much affected by them. There are certain surface world beings who have just built up an immunity to rapid changes in electromagnetic frequency because they've been alive for so long. And they've seen other rapid changes, and they've developed coping techniques for them specific to their lineage.
Like a weather management system, an internal weather management system.
Or a building that they go into that acts as the energy management system. That's what a lot of the Tartarian buildings were, to harvest electromagnetic frequencies coming from solar maximum and minimum. And then there would be a vault, a special energy vault in the Tartarian temple or house or whatever it was, that they can go in and absorb higher frequency particles on purpose, or drain off high frequency particles in their body into the storage vault.
But if their underlings are being affected, then they're going to have less of an effective workforce, which adds to the crumbling of that particular facade, doesn't it? That particular structure.
Yes.
Full site structure.
Yeah, exactly. It means it has better opportunities to make mistakes that will have cataclysmic events to those people making the mistakes' lives. Because again, the world is owned by psychopaths and run by idiots. So when the idiots start making mistakes, the psychopaths start killing off the idiots.
And then more mistakes are made.
And the more idiots that are killed, and new idiots have to take the place.
And also, I guess with the increase of souls coming in through the southern aurora borealis, through the South Pole, they're coming in now without so much of the quarantine, aren't they? The quarantine grid.
They're also not coming in with the same contracts like you and I came in to deal with the Archon grid. The Archon grid is all but destroyed now.
Yeah. So
whatever's left of the Archon grid is just there to get the negatives who need to be born into a negative lineage. They've lost that much power. They can only use negative lineages now.
So this is so much of everything that is non-fearful, everything we're talking about here, isn't it? It's so positive. It's so expanding. If we're going to have these new souls coming in and everything's going to get amped up, and the solar max is going to come a little bit earlier than they were originally saying, then also from what you're saying, there'd be a greater divide between people in some ways if the people not doing the work and the people doing the work, or the people receptive to growth and evolution and change, will be the ones able to take it on board and work with the amped up resonances. And those who can't, what ultimately happens to them as we're coming towards the solar max?
So everything is perspective here. And we could break this down to tomato. Fetus, foetus versus fetus. You know, the British spelling versus the English spelling. And the cup is half full to one person and half empty to another. And even if you're a person practicing, these energies can be very difficult for you to deal with. Okay? And then the energies of others, it can be very disabling for a lot of people. So it's not a positive cookie cutter outlook for everyone. It's a big hump they've got to get over. And yes, when they get over the hump, they'll have hindsight. Wow, it didn't kill me. It made me stronger. But then there are others that are going to finish the hump and fuck, I'm tired. I can't do no more. And then the next solar flare hits and they got nothing left. because this is an endurance game. Ultimately, the change in the solar maximum to minimum is an endurance challenge coming ahead of us, a spiritual triathlon that's going to be going on for 2 to 3 years until there's regularization between the solar flares and non-solar flares.
So what happens to those who can't get over the hump at all?
They usually go back to sleep and become aspects of the systems and used and abused by it. But karma does play a part in that too.
Okay. So there would have been some pre-choice before we came in on that, as
Sure.
well as karma. Yeah, yeah,
Sure.
which is
How life is going to play out and when you're going to awaken. If you're not going to awaken, these are the things that can happen. And if you're not going to awaken, that's fine. There are many people who are going to have great lifetimes. Okay?
So the incoming souls as well. If you know, obviously there's going to be pressure put upon those that are awakened and awakening to have these children. They're going to want to be born into the type of circumstances that will support them.
Sure, but that doesn't mean they're going to actually get it.
Yes.
Which happens a lot in a lot of lifetimes. They come in with a great plan, and they go to start building the plan, and they're missing some of the fundamental starting pieces. So instead of building on a concrete floor, you got to build on a sand floor.
Mm.
Okay.
Do we have a chat with any questions in, guys? Because I can't access it for some reason.
Not at the moment.
Okay.
So anybody out there who has some questions, feel free to enter them into the chat on Rumble or YouTube.
Do the womb chakras, Andrew, create more life during the solar flares?
Yes. A lot more life and death too. So there's high births and high death rates.
So how would that affect with Russia, with the womb chakra there, with a volcano going off? What kind of effect would that have on that particular process?
That ash that is spreading through the upper atmosphere is going to take on life-altering properties. As that ash has the womb chakra energy, high-frequency particle energy from the solar flares, and then that ash will have water particles that form around it, which create rain showers worldwide. And then there are certain forms of the ash that are going to rain down as ash on the surface world, which will create a nutrient barrier or a nutrient line in certain areas that will create plants to grow more. Volcanic ash is one of the greatest things that can promote growth in areas.
Very cool.
Do earthquakes have the same effect?
As during solar flares?
Yes. Or
So they go hand in hand. If you have a round of solar flares, you'll have a round of earthquakes.
okay.
If you have a series of earthquakes supported by solar flares, you will have volcanic effects that are increased.
Okay. And that is energy also, like you were just saying, that we can draw on, or certainly the people living in those energies can pull up that energy from the earth.
If you are a person that's living in a volcano or earthquake prone area, yes, that means there's a high amount of energy for you to tap into to use.
Okay. All right. So does that get pulled up through the body and then excess is released through the crown chakra?
Not necessarily. It doesn't
Okay.
necessarily come in. It's all about what the body can handle versus overloading the system. And oftentimes it just bypasses the body and creates its own structure.
Okay, because I think you've spoken about this before related to looking at it like sand in an hourglass, filling up with the earth energy.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's also going to be dependent on how you relate to energy in your own physical body. And there are a lot of people that have not a proper understanding of how energy works. And when all of a sudden they're overwhelmed by energy, they lose control of their energy system. And this overpowered state often overrides their programs, or makes their programs become very strong.
Yeah, They've forgotten we're photonic beings of light.
Correct.
Yeah.
And there is also a difference between spiritual and psychic work and actual inner work and healing.
It's a gigantic difference.
Yeah.
Which unfortunately a lot of people in the light worker community, they think watching a TV series on ancient aliens is doing inner work. It is not.
Or watching these shows.
This is not, this watching the show is not inner work. This show is educational entertainment. This show is not inner work. Inner work is doing the actual work. All those other shows where we give you the techniques, tips, and tools of how to go into yourself and perceive your different aspects of yourself, the energy bodies, the soul shards, and then doing something to create healing with them.
Exactly. That was one of the greatest lessons for me, was the fact that I was able to do all of these spiritual things, but yet at the end of it, once I'd realised, yes, I've learned all these skills and techniques, I realised I hadn't actually been directing them at what would really make a difference in my life. However, I had learned the tips, tools and techniques in order to do that, but I hadn't actually been doing it per se.
Yeah. Practical application and sacred application are two different things.
Yes.
Okay? Conscious application of the sacred determines how it will, the work will affect you. Practical application does 9-volt battery change versus plugged into spirit change.
Okay, I've got a question from Dale here. So the sun is a group of soul family, these light particles coming in and out. Is that those entities bungee jumping?
Bungee jumping is an interesting term. No, more like they drive up close to the planet, make an energy catapult, and shoot their load into the solar wind that then increases the load, that then smacks into the surface of the planet and spreads a wisdom in a more specific place than it being spread by the natural winds. Kind of like high stratosphere graffiti.
What would be the purpose of high stratosphere graffiti?
Well, when you see, let's say you're walking down a side street, and you see gang symbol, followed by incredible mural, pure art mural. Okay.
Yeah.
It's overwhelming. It's overriding the negative frequencies that are being imprinted by the technological system.
Yes, exactly.
Or what if you see a new gang taking over the territory, Galactic Federation of Light, and they start tagging the upper atmosphere? Okay? Join our 9th Street crew. Okay? Okay? The 9th Street Lightworker crew.
9th Street Lightworker crew.
So
the Galactic Bloods.
Yeah, exactly. Bloods and Crips.
So as we go towards our solar max on Earth, how does that affect, if at all, our relationship with other planets?
Wow, what a
Celestial
lightworker question.
Yeah, it was.
What a lightworker question.
So there's a question here,
You're
Andrew.
answer it anyway.
There's a question here. How do you know if you have a sand floor or a concrete floor?
A sand flaw or a concrete flaw?
Yeah.
A concrete flaw is much more real, and a sand flaw isn't. But there are certain sand flaws that are far worse than
lightworker.
Okay? Yes, that's a lightworker question too. And people in the background, what's wrong with lightworker questions? You don't listen to the show that much, do you? Lightworker is not a good word.
It's not a compliment, guys.
It's not a compliment.
Okay, so how about weather patterns? How are they going to change? Because
they're going to be accelerated. You have more particles of energy in the space. Therefore, the patterns of weather are going to move at an accelerated pace.
Okay, and more extremes, and that goes without saying, really.
Not necessarily more extremes,
Okay.
at an accelerated pace.
So speeded up changes of weather, speeded up seasons. So maybe you mean like seasons coming earlier or later, coming earlier? Okay.
Or lasting longer.
Okay.
Okay, so here's an interesting question. It says, is there any timeline? It's popped up over the question. There we go. Is there any timeline incursions related to this solar activity? And I'd like to add to this, because when you were speaking about the effects this was going to have, it made me think of the timeline rifts from Atlantis.
All right, so do solar flares increase timeline incursions? The answer is yes, but not necessarily in this linear time per se. They will use the solar flares in this linear time to jump to other linear times or previous linear times. It's a jump off point to other places and spaces of times. Now, are there agencies and temporal groups that are going to use the high frequency of this time to affect this time? Yes, but if you're affecting this time, there's a lot more players on the field, subsurface and astral, who are going to stop your play or try to counter your play.
And that's like
the big pond is full of a lot of really big fish right now, playing big fish rules.
Yeah. And that's entanglement at a high level.
Correct.
From Kitty, any connection with the solar flare and the upcoming solar eclipse?
Yes. And the secondary question is, what are they? Wait and see.
Yes. Oh, wait and see. Okay.
Right, wait and see.
Okay. Can this affect how we connect with our ancestors and guides?
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Be easier.
No, not for everyone.
Okay.
It's not a cookie cut. There are many people who are well on the journey who will have a harder time connecting to their ancestors because they're used to connecting at a slower pace, not this accelerated energy pace.
Right. So downloads could be more intense and come quicker.
And overwhelming.
I know.
Yeah, people maybe think they're getting attacked, or that their ancestors are actually not their ancestors, and begin to hit back.
What's a good way of dealing with that, Andrew, to slow the information down?
Not to deal with it, not put yourself in that spiritual travel, ground through ceremony, ground through ritual, and understand not everybody is meant to do the high level information gathering and training during these times, and to know your level of responsibility to your own awareness of yourself. Are you truly ready? Have the saved up energy to deal with this and not be cocky, arrogant, or worse, full of dreadful pride. I could take it.
Yeah.
How many people have you I heard I could take it? In the next solar flare, they're calling me to de-haunt their ass.
Yeah. Not being the zealot.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And a lot of people suffer from that. An arrogance that I can do it. If I can do it in this world, I can do it in the other. You don't even know the rules to the other world. Okay? And guess what? Rules change. And oftentimes when there's high energy spikes, rules do change. People are going to ask, how do you change rules? Literally, the physics change. The physics of reality change.
So another question from the chat is, how do elementals harness this energy?
It amplifies their capacity to interact.
Yeah, hence the speeded up weather patterns and so on.
Yes.
Can you move the chat up a bit, Joel, or not? I think we've covered all the questions there. And Dale, if you've got any more questions, just message them to me again. It might be easier for you. Oh, he has. Hold on. Is there spiritual practice we can expand into from using the Aurora Borealis out of our crown chakra during the solar flares as we connect to the Earth streaming mind? Anything we can focus on as we do this?
All right, so that's advanced work right there. That even the nature of the question means there's an more advanced understanding. If you're already at that advanced level and have not been a fake it to make it for half of that journey, there are things you can do in creating a sovereign piece, a more stronger sovereign piece that occupies many astral cities with one citizenship, a multi-dimensional, multi-located you that has access to many astral cities simultaneously. Okay? But if you're one of those people who had significant fake it to make it journey, and you need to go and revisit the basics of visiting the ancestral worlds and have clear, defined boundaries and relationships with the ancestors of those realms.
Good question.
Yeah, great question.
So does this have an impact on CERN or the sacred geometry change?
Yes. What is the change? Their calculations would go off, and it makes a bigger chance for them to fuck up and create a black hole that kills us all. So they're very worried about creating a black hole that will kill them. Not they don't care about the rest of us.
Yeah. Will they be, tempted to turn it off?
No. Fuck no. No.
In dreaming within sacred geometry cities, normally to access dream time, you'd have to, unless you're doing the work, I guess, you'd have to get out of the city to access a decent dream time, ancestral dream time.
Not necessarily.
Okay, but
there are times the high astral energy, the high celestial solar flare energies make it easier for you to connect to the natural dreaming worlds.
That was my question. So as it gets more amped up, will it be easier for people in sacred geometry cities to access ancestral dream time?
Based off of their previous work that they've done. There are those that will be popped out and suddenly have that energy, and others who will be entrenched into it deeper.
Yeah. So again, different results.
Yes.
Different people. Yeah. For individuals. Okay.
So Andrew, I have a personal question here. The pieces and parts that we create that are out there, is there a process we can use to do? I mean, will it amplify the work that we do, or should we be trying to sanctify some of these pieces and parts more, or will they just function as they always have?
All right, so that's really a light worker question.
Yeah, it's based on my own work.
It's a light worker question. Okay, light workers are worried about their pieces and parts polluting when the daily work is to collect those pieces and parts, and there are certain ones that don't want to come back. Okay,
so I don't want to give away too much of the material. I'll leave that where it is.
Basically, you've got to create a database of the ones that want to come back and the ones that don't. Okay? And the ones that want to come back, they have their own time frame in which they can come back. Or it's dependent on your energies if they could even come back. That's why the inner work is so important, so that we realize that we've been polluting shards for thousands of lifetimes. You can't just go and scoop them all up and bring them all back and fuck yourself up.
But with precogs, though, that would be, if you're doing the work, that would be a very good way, would it not, of utilizing a lot of this increased energy, this mojo?
Isn't the nature of that question putting an expectation on the precogs to do something more for you than what they normally do?
Yeah. Yes, it is.
Okay.
Yes.
We can't function through expectation.
No.
Precogs are going to do precog work, and nothing more.
Yes. Yes.
What are precogs doing? Giving you more opportunities for infinite potentials when you come across the moment where a potential that was limited could be infinite, simply because your state of perception has changed.
Yes, so it would be more about me changing my state of perception
Correct.
and stepping completely out of expectation.
Which then allows the precogs to create infinite potentials in your future.
But you have said something about the Schumann resonance spiking can bring in increased synchronicities. Can you explain how that works again?
And if everybody's energy is generally accelerated, what is that going to do to the amount of people who meet everyone every day, pass each other in the car? The algorithm of daily surface living is going to be operating faster with more energy, and therefore there will naturally be more synchronicities and false synchronicities too. And gray synchronicities that don't mean anything.
Yeah, so it just gives the potential for all these synchronicities to be faster. But at the same time, it will create unique opportunities for those that are ready to follow the synchronicity's core energy and allow it to evolve without enforcing an expectation on it.
Yeah, I've seen this in my own life.
Which then allows a more speeded up process of natural organic evolution.
Bingo.
Will the accelerated weather have a cleansing effect on chakras? I think that's what it says. Oh, chemtrails.
Chemtrails.
No.
No.
Okay, sorry. It's
most of the chemtrails are not doing what people think they're doing anyway, are they, Andrew?
Exactly. I've stated that over and over and over again.
Yeah.
The chemtrail, the negative chemtrail ended in 2017. But people are like, I still see it in the air. Yeah, they're trying to fix the negative shit.
So does this energy embolden entities or hinder them?
Yeah, it both hinders and emboldens them. It all depends on the strategy and the type of being that's there. I mean, in general, there are many demonic forces who will take solar flares and for themselves hide, but force their minions to go out and harvest. Okay? And then there are other forces, let's say more like off-worlder forces. They are the solar flares affect them radically different than the way we do. They don't just get, fucked up sleep. They get sicknesses, full-on body and spirit sicknesses that can affect them.
And Julie says, going back to ancestral connections, she's noticed a stronger connection to future generations during these times, which makes sense if more souls are re-entering.
Well, more souls are experiencing the future solar flares that are far more intense than what they are now, which is now allowing it to travel backwards in time. And since we're all of our past, present, and future lives simultaneously existence, the linear expression forwards and backwards does affect us, and you will see ancestors in the future reacting to solar flares, and then that energy going backwards to us and backwards to people before us.
Cricket.
Yep.
I was just processing that now.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
So are there any nutritional supplements or foods we could consume to facilitate use of this energy?
Well, good question. Good question. Unfortunately, food is not as important during these high energy times. These are the times low energy food can be far more balancing. And what is low energy food? McDonald's, a frozen pizza, a fish sandwich with batter on it, a fish and chips, a steak. That's something that's a longer term for your body to process instead of carbs or sugars that are faster processed. Then again, there are certain people, no matter what, that once they get the high frequency energy, they want the high frequency food to amplify it, like adrenaline junkies.
But again, couldn't that have the potential of overwhelming the body?
Absolutely. But
Which
that's
is why.
that's the cycle they're going to self-create.
Okay. So then that's again going into being more of a zealot, isn't it? With something rather than trying to be, being grounded on earth and staying more sacred neutral.
Sometimes it's not zealot, it's just unaware of the energies, and you're following an instinct that is not the best for the moment because the instinct is off because the energies have changed.
Okay. So it's the foods you've been talking about to me are very grounding foods as well, because your body is processing them for a longer time.
Right, a long chain carbohydrates would be
Right.
great at that time, like sweet potato and stuff like that.
Yeah. How can I let go of old patterns to heal?
Go back and watch some of our old shows. That
Yeah, I was going to say that.
Yes. How can I stay positive against the resistance and blocks now? Yeah, you'll have to watch some of our other ones.
That are titled that shit.
What are some approaches you find work during these times? Well, that's back to the inner work, isn't it?
Inner work.
So can we define that for people that don't really know?
No. Nope. Fucked on this episode. That's because we want you to go back and watch our other shows.
Yeah, because we deal with it in depth.
Because it requires effort for you guys to actually go through and find what you're looking for. And that puts faith in your own synchronistic process rather than instant gratification.
Yep.
Exactly.
Do what we did and transcribe and then go and practice. And it's all part of the learning.
And it's effort.
That's right. Effort, effort, effort.
That is how you learn. And that's what helps it stick with you as well.
So I want to touch on ascension sickness.
Ooh.
The garbage subject matter created by garbage light workers who think that they're superior, morally and spiritually superior to everyone else. Now that people are like, well, aren't you being morally superior by calling it garbage? No. I'm saying a set of facts from a set of group of people who don't operate completely from the set of facts that everyone else operates from. Okay? If you're not doing the work, you're going to have ascension sickness. Pretty simple. What is ascension sickness? Something you create for yourself because you're denying something within yourself. Having ascension sickness is not a red badge of fucking courage. Like so many of those people, oh, if you must be great on the awakening because you're sick. No. Okay, you're avoiding shit. That's what it means.
Exactly. You have higher levels of consciousness of your own self and other beings that are trying to communicate or help you out. And because you haven't been doing the correct work, you're having all this pressure in your energy and in your body, and you think that it means you're doing things right when it's absolutely juxtaposed.
Exactly.
Yeah. Your body will store that almost as a trauma too, won't it?
Yep, it will make it a trauma. And thus when
It
the
is a
solar
trauma.
flare comes and you get this accelerated evolution in your mind, and it isn't, it's an accelerated depletion of yourself. It's a rapid draining of your energy.
And it's interesting because we still have, I mean, even still today, and I can't believe it, there's still posts of people saying, portal this, expect ascension symptoms, we're having a crystalline grid upgrade of our DNA, and it's just insane that this stuff is still around.
Why do you think it sticks around?
Because of newbies, I would imagine. Or because it gives people adrenaline.
And the oldies who can never learn anything new.
Yeah.
Who are still parroting the same thing since 2014.
That sounds like hell to me, I have to admit.
Why does it become an obsession?
Because they have a state of power over everyone else.
You know, Einstein said his definition of madness was doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results each time. And the more that I see people that keep repeating these same, I mean, you know, how many times do you have to see something not happen until you realize that this is bullshit?
So last time we did a Schumann show, I revealed something to everyone. You know, all these people who every time the Schumann resonance spikes and they look at the graph, they're like, oh, it's affecting me. Well, I'm going to reiterate the truth. So whenever you go and see the graph for the Schumann resonance spike, Joel, if you'll put one of them up, there are only 4 sensors in the whole world that measure the Schumann resonance. 4. One in Saudi Arabia, one in Japan, one in New York City, and one in England. 4. That's it. Doesn't measure the rest of the world. Ponder that. This is where people and their natural power of belief over-believes in this graph. Okay? When we put on the title here, Schumann resonance spike incoming, why were we saying that?
Because there's always a Schumann spike incoming. There's always a spike all over the planet.
Yeah.
Always.
It was clickbait.
Yeah. Did we clickbait you? Maybe we did.
There's quite a lot watching live.
Yeah. And all of you are like, you clickbaited us. No, we educated you. Ponder that. There's only 4 sensors. And if you don't believe me, go look it up. There are only 4 sensors worldwide that measure the Schumann resonance. 4. Guess what? Those devices are not cheap. Okay? That's why. A Schumann resonance device that measures at this level costs about $600,000. And then it requires a computer that's forever connected to it, that's also connected to a satellite grid of sensors. Okay? And then you're like, well, satellite grid means no, it just means where the satellite is at that one sample of a moment. Okay? And what you're seeing are samples here. Okay? And remember, solar flares don't hit Earth head on. Sometimes they hit the bottom right corner. Sometimes they hit the top full on. Sometimes it's a dead on hit. Other times it's a near miss. It's the solar winds that affect the change more.
Yeah, I've had it when there's been a CME that's completely opposite direction from Earth, but it has enough oomph and power behind it that I have the same symptoms as I would if it was a direct hit.
Yeah.
I think it's more valid, Andrew, isn't it, to be looking at spaceweather.com and looking at when the solar flares are coming and so on, so you can align or prepare to do your ceremonial work,
yes,
prepare to work with the elements. That's what we should be looking at it for, so we
absolutely
can empower our own self-mastery journey.
Right.
In working with it, working in co-creation with these natural celestial and earth frequencies.
Exactly. Use spaceweather.com, the incoming and outgoing CMEs, the sunspots, to plan your future rituals. You do that, you will have far better definition of your inner spiritual realm come to you during those times than there are times that it's not going to be happening. And because we're going through an accelerated process where the solar maximum and the solar minimum are changing so fast and the cycle is going to be different, this gives a lot of opportunity for people who have been on the fake it to make it to stop faking it and make it and catch up and not feel guilty that you were faking to make it for so long. A handful of ceremonies and rituals done with true source connected inside them will leapfrog you forward into the journey where you realize this is not a linear observation of the journey. It's the total awareness that you get.
Indeed.
And not relying wholeheartedly on astrology either, because
Yep.
Dale is just from Dale Silent Tobin, he's called himself.
Yeah, that made me giggle.
Mercury retrograde. Why do people blame it on Mercury all the time?
Because they're idiots.
Oh, I was going to say that. Because it's been overhyped.
Yes.
It's been commercialized.
Yeah. Like this has, like Schumann resonance has.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's been commercialized by the commercial teachers who will never be more than nothing than a commercial teacher.
And that's all just a distraction again, isn't it? It's all just a distraction from doing the work.
Sure. Is this show a distraction from doing the work? For a lot of people, it is.
Yeah, in some ways.
A lot
Depends
of
if
people,
you're going to act on the information or not.
Are you going to act on? That's why we do the shows. Okay? For those that are ready to act on the information. And for all you others, we're entertaining you. That's why you keep coming back. And we enjoy you coming to get your entertainment from us. Sooner or later, you'll open up to one or the others and explore and have a good old time with it. If not, be entertained.
And even if you're not doing the work, you'll be able to see, as long as you pay attention, you'll be able to make pattern recognition in your life and then stop shaming and blaming.
Yes. Okay? So Dale the Silent Tobin.
Yeah, it's been quite a show without him. Oh, there he is.
Hi guys, I'm still here. I'm really enjoying the show. Very inspiring and very entertaining.
Are you doing the inner work, Dale?
Yes. So Andrew, Laura might have asked this question, but why are so many people obsessed with the Mercury retrograde, like affecting them?
Yeah.
Is that again just down to the marketing of the lightworking community?
Yeah, that's lightworker commercial marketing.
Yeah.
People don't truly realize how the commercial marketed spiritual world has bastardized teachings. Dave and I did a variety of shows on that a year ago or 2 years ago. How bad the spiritual commercial world, the commercial spiritual community world, has literally just bastardized and dumbed down the teachings so that average Joe layman can accept stuff. Guess what? Average Joe layman is not supposed to accept that stuff. You got to get out of being average Joe layman to be able to understand the spiritual stuff. That's why so many people, when they come to me privately, you need to make your stuff easier for people to understand. Clearly, you don't understand the material, and you're only asking that because you're not putting your intelligence in. And I know there's a lot of people, I could barely understand your work, but you're still trying. And that's the most important part. So many people give up on trying.
And it can be rather disheartening as well. I found that, I would, in the beginning, when I began to really process and understand this information that Andrew was bringing, and I went out into spiritual circles, I was alone. And I very quickly realized that most people didn't even have the capacity to understand.
Okay. But if you're trying, the capacity is there and you will grow.
Exactly.
Just don't give up on it.
Yeah.
It's just repetition with illumination.
Right. You will eventually get out
I've
of
had to defriend a lot.
Okay. Eventually you'll be out of average Joe and you'll be your full name without an average title.
I've had to defriend a lot of people who it's the same status all the time. Oh, this is kicking me in the ass, this retrograde or the planet. And it's just like, no, it's your own shit. And even if you say the truth to them as well, they get really triggered. And I've tried to do it in like a really nice way sometimes, but a lot of them get really triggered when you say it. Maybe this is showing you something internally and it's not the planet's farting or having sex with each other. It's you.
Yeah.
And people have their own flavors of delusion as well.
Exactly. 2014, 2015, even into early 2016, I cannot tell you how many people blame the archons for their bad life.
Yeah.
Or blame spirit for their bad life. I never agreed to this lifetime. I want to go home with a temper tantrum behind it. Okay? Well, when you come to that attitude, you're never going to realize the big picture that you did agree to be here many times over.
And what an honor it is to be here.
Specifically said yes. I don't have anything to say. I don't have anything to say to people like that anymore.
No.
I will simply say, great, move on. You'll figure it out on your own. There's plenty of other shows that you can go and listen to. I'm not going to give you your immediate spiritual demand of definition and conflation and inflation of your own ego to demand an answer now that you'll never understand because you don't actually turn on your genius ever to figure out your own solutions and problems and stop blaming the external world for everything going wrong with you.
A spiritual emoism.
Yep.
And once you recognize,
it's like they've created their own genre of music, and it's called emo trash metal, and their title album is fucking Temper Tantrum.
and even though so many people recognize that the system has set it up so that you relinquish your self-responsibility, once you realize that, you then have that responsibility that you have to go and do something about it.
That's right.
If you know that, if you know the system's working against you, why aren't you taking it on board and doing it for yourself?
Yeah, and making it work for you.
Yeah.
That's right. There was a question.
Even within the system, you can do that.
That's right.
There was a question within the chat that was unrelated where someone was saying, what was the reason behind you guys reacting to the previous material? And, that's because you have to revisit the basics. Sometimes you can you can forget what you learned in the beginning. Andrew gave so much in the beginning as to why we're here, what we're here to do, that if you can't just assimilate that information, then you really need to go back and think about why you're here and what you want to do. It's an honor to be here at this time. It really is, as difficult as it is.
Yeah, and go ahead, Laura.
Also, that Andrew's material is infinite. So I might, like Matty and Dale, have heard it many times, but there's always another layer. There's always another question to be asked, because you're dealing with the algorithms of the time and the frequencies now of the now moment, which will bring up another question and another question, because Andrew's material is infinite.
Yeah, and each time you revisit, you have a new level of awareness.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Dale.
And like doing the metaverse teachings, what we're doing them again. We're doing the metaverse teachings again, but each time I go to it, it's like a totally new experience, like I've never done it before, which I find really cool. I really like that.
Mm-hmm. To pull the
if you can hear
back
me, guys, sorry, it's really bad. I've literally got like 2 bars.
All right, to pull the curtain back for a second. 2 weeks ago, we were going, well, what show are we going to do next week? And I'd given a challenge to everyone in the group. Every week, we've got to top our new show. We've got to tap into our genius as part of our individual marketer selves. And we said, we haven't done a reaction show. I did a reaction show on the Comedy Channel with Monty a few times, reacting to certain videos. And then Joe brought it up. I'm like, yeah, let's do a reaction show. We haven't done it on that material. So there was a marketing reason behind it. But then there's all those other things. Look at all the wisdom that came from it. And so many people were really happy that we did a reaction show to that.
Yeah.
And we also want people to go into our chat room when the video is done, put a comment in the comment section about shows that you'd like us to do or reaction shows you'd like for us to do. We are not going to react to other people's material. So if you start putting, tell me about blah, blah, blah's reaction to those videos, I'm not reacting to other people's videos. You can go listen to them. I'll react to your videos with people.
That information had such a big impact on people. And I myself, of course, that's why I'm sitting here right now. It had such a big impact on me. And the nature of the information has changed. And I think some people really do miss that old kind of frequency. But when we visit it, it's not old anymore.
Nope, still there. The other day I had somebody come into the chat room and go, I remember the old Andrew when you do this, this, and this on Wolf Spirit Radio. Why doesn't he do that stuff anymore? I do. But that was also 10 years ago. And 2,000, I've been up to almost 3,000 shows. Okay? I have to have something new that goes to me too. I said this years ago, after 280 hours of Galactic History Material, how much fucking more do you need? Okay?
And when he was doing it, people still wanted to know what their purpose was.
Right.
Can you believe that? He was offering these things that we don't not get anymore, and everybody wanted to know, what's my fucking purpose?
Right.
And what's the percentage of what you have told us or put out there, Andrew? I think you said it was about 6% at one time of your
capacity to tell.
Yeah.
6%. And if I have a very familiar with the material and intelligent crowd, maybe I can go to 8%.
Yeah. Depending on the questions being asked and the frequency of the moment, I'm guessing.
And the
so all the people
total capacity to achieve unlimited points of view.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so all the people that are pressuring Andrew all the time, why don't you do this? Why don't you this? Can you imagine what it takes for Andrew to keep doing this all these years, only going to 6 to 8%?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, we should invite some of those people into our next marketing meetings. Okay. It challenges you. Come up with a show. Did it already. Okay.
Yeah.
That's why we want you to go in the chat room, come up with some stuff, new stuff for us to cover, just like reaction shows. That was the first reaction video to my own material that I've done. Okay. And the guys in the background, yeah, you have done it, but you can redo it for a modern audience. And grumbly old me, like, all right. And there are quite a few shows that I've got over the jaded grumbly. I've done it 1,000 fucking times. Did it again. Okay. and it was a great fucking show.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed doing it again.
Yes. Can't tell you the number of times we've all been called light workers.
Yes. I finally got you out of Soul Shard questions for the first 3 months. Soul Shard, Soul Shard, Soul Shard. Cricket.
Yeah, I was about to say, you beat me to it.
Yeah. Winding down now.
Yes.
Processing.
All right, guys, let's call it an end to this show. We want everybody that's been in the show to go and click it and stick it to the algorithm. Every time you hit that like button and put a comment in the actual comment section, you stick it to the algorithm. So, Laura, give a way for people to get a hold of you.
Yes, I'm at twofeathersmedicine.com. Just contact me there or email me Laura2feathers with the number 2, Laura2feathers@gmail.com if you want a private session, one-to-one session on sacred self-mastery or anything shamanic at all. And we'll be back with the Talking Stick show on Tuesday.
Maddie, give a way for people to get a hold of you.
Okay, first of all, Andrew, would it be okay for us to plug the next show, the next Thursday show?
Yes.
Okay, guys, so we've got a really interesting one. It's going to be a Rumble exclusive. Next Thursday is 4:20, so we're going to be having a show all about cannabis. So get your weed in, roll a fat one, and it's going to be a great show. So if you want to get a hold of me, twofeathersmedicine.com. We have some, obviously you can link to a private session with me or healing. I have some light language products there, which maybe I should create one for ascension symptoms. But there's all different kinds of healing modalities there. And I have a light language course for people who wish to speak light language, which is coming soon. It should be there by Monday.
Okay. Dale, give a way for people to get a hold of you.
There we go.
So if you'd like some psychic surgery during these solar flare times and you feel like the flares are hurting you or making you upset, then I invite you to have some soul surgery, psychic surgery with me. And if you visit daletobin.com and book a session with me. And thank you so much, guys. Again, I've been in the background, it's been like all jiggy, but yeah, what a great show. Very inspiring again.
All right, you guys know who I am. You know who I am. You go to my website, andrewbartzis.com. We've got some incredible products there for you in the store, as well as we are having private sessions available. All right, everybody, we'll be back next week for the Rumble exclusive cannabis show as we go into the deep psycho-spiritual concepts of cannabis and its ancient history in the galaxy and beyond.
Yeah. Can't
All right,
wait.
go take us away.
Healing comes in many forms, all the colors aligned. You are free as a dove when you choose, a sovereign state of being.
And allow this product to work with the 7 color chakras in our own energy system.
Meditations can trigger DNA wisdom and memories in light, out creating our limited chemical memories. So sit back, relax, as we take you on a journey of light and color.
you.